Hi, you may notice that there's something a little weird about this Contra-alto Clarinet, such as, where's the metal bell? Well, this is a Contra-alto Clarinet with a low C extension. The specific model of this Contra-alto is the Leblanc 352, and this extension only will fit on a Leblanc 352. Unfortunately, I do not have a Bundy or Selmer Contrabass Contra-alto Clarinet to build an extension for, which I know would be vastly more useful since those instruments are a lot more common than this model. But hey, it's so cool to have matching extensions for this 352 and this 342. Look, they're so cute. And so this extension actually works basically the same as it is on the contrabass, in that you have 3 keys for your thumb, a low D, C sharp, and C, and you access those notes by holding down your low E flat and adding your thumb to it. And this is completely removable and does not require any modification to the instrument itself, just like on the contrabass. And there are a few differences, such as how this part has to connect onto the body of the instrument. Because there's a lot less room on the contralto, there's a difference in how you actually connect it. So there's actually a little hook that you hook onto the, it's a hook that hooks onto the other connector point on the contralto. So it's like a hook on a hook, which is really funny. And this extension, while I think that low C contraltos aren't really necessary, I think contralto should top out a low D. This actually has a lot of benefits on especially the low range of the instrument. It does also help with the clarion a bit, especially the long B in clarion. It makes it a lot more open, but it fixes, well, it alleviates some of the intonation problems with the low register, but mostly it helps with the low E flat and the low E. Because on the original 352 Contra-alto Clarinet, what Leblanc did was they basically took the original bell from the 342 and kind of just slapped it on the 352. And what happened was that bell is way too large for a Contra-alto Clarinet, so it makes the low E flat like way flat. It's kind of between a low D or E flat when you play it normally. So that note kind of is just not that useful on these instruments. However, this extension fixes that sort of, because I'll get into it. This extension fixes it so that it's a lot more in tune, and it also fixes the low E. Because of the giant bell, unproportionate bell on this instrument that's just copied from that instrument, it makes the low E really stuffy to play also. So this extension, because it vents from multiple tone poles now, it makes it a lot easier to play the low E loudly, and it basically balances it out. I'll try to play a few examples. So the extension notes and the low notes are a lot more open and free-blowing. And I will touch on the intonation a bit. So the intonation of the extension in general is flat compared to the rest of the instrument. However, this is a compromise, as your lower right-hand notes already in the low register are pretty flat, such as your low G, F, and especially your low E and E flat normally. Those notes are really flat already, and to compromise for that, I had to make the extension a little bit flatter just to match the rest of the instrument. However, this isn't as much of an issue as you think, because the equivalent sounding notes on the contrabass clarinet there are already pretty flat also. So if you're playing, let's say if you're playing a low C, which is a concert E flat, and your contrabass buddy is playing a low F, which is also a concert E flat, you guys will pretty much be smack in tune since both of you are flat. Now, I'm not sure about ensemble playing, but since contrabass players have been getting away with their flat low register, I think it's perfectly acceptable to have some flatter notes down there on contralto also. It's kind of just a thing you have to live with. So I did mention how the low E natural on the normal bell is a lot stuffier and harder to play when in comparison to on the extension. So to demonstrate that, I will play the same excerpt with the normal bell and then with the extension. And it probably will be a lot harder to tell from a microphone, but there is a lot of difference to the actual player. And there may also be a difference in mouthpiece and reed setups when you're playing it, because I've played on some mouthpieces that just really make the low E natural horrible to get. So this excerpt is Heffalumps and Woozles from Winnie the Pooh. To demonstrate the differences in the sound of the extension on this Contra-alto clarinet and on the contrabass, I will play the same excerpt on the Contra-alto with the extension notes and the same sounding pitches on the contrabass. And the thing is, this specific model of Contra-alto, the 352, the Leblanc 352, is kind of just a shrink down version of the Leblanc 342 since the bore size is the same. So this really is kind of just a small contrabass. So there's probably not going to be too much of a timbre difference in between the two, but yeah, there still is a little bit, so I hope the phone camera will pick that up. So some final thoughts from myself about this Contra-alto clarinet down to a low C. While it is pretty cool to have, and it's always nice to have a low C, just like on a bass clarinet where you might have the low C but you might not always use it, it's kind of just like a cool novelty right now, since most music for Contra-alto clarinet doesn't really go down that low, and also there's not that much music for Contra-alto clarinet. I guess it'd be really useful to have this low C when you're covering a contrabass clarinet part, such as if you're a contralto player who needs to play contrabass clarinet part because you don't have a contrabass. It's always nice to have those low Cs, which can get you down to the written low F, which I guess a lot of contrabass parts do use. But especially with this instrument, there's not too much of like a timbral difference between this model of 352 compared to the 342, since this kind of is, as I said, just a shrunk down version of the contrabass, since the bore size is the exact same. I'm guessing that there will be a lot more of a timbral difference when you use a Bundy contralto down to a low C, or like a Selmer contralto down to a low C, since the bore size and the mouthpiece size is a lot smaller on those. But yeah, this is a pretty cool proof of concept and actually works really well. I'm really happy with how this project turned out, and I hope you all are too. So anyways, thank you so much for watching and have a great day.